Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to Allianz Joy today on another beautiful Saturday. I hope you're live with us on Roku, Apple, Amazon. Maybe you're coming to the studio and you're just making a last minute run to join us. If you are coming in through the replay, please let us know what you think. Give us some comments, leave us some comments on YouTube. We love to hear from you. I'm glad to be here today. This is another episode of Allianz Joy, my third year here. I am an executive coach, wellness, fitness, the whole bit, mindset, body, skill set, tool set. You can find me everywhere, you know it. And today I have another amazing guest. I have so much fun with my guest. I love it. I'm going to introduce you to her. I have Kemir Baker today here, and she is the CEO of and founder of J Intelligence Networks, also in short, JINTEL. I love that, right? This sounds really cool. Driven by her journey of overcoming trauma, Kemir is dedicated to empowering women in their emotional well-being and spiritual growth. That's what we do here on the show. We talk about that. Through J Intel, she provides a supportive environment for women to deepen their faith while acquiring practical tools for emotional health. We love that. Our shared belief in God's unique purpose for every woman fuels our mission to help them embrace their destinies and live abundantly. One of my favorite words, joy and abundance. Welcome, Kemir, to the show. I am so glad you're here today. We were both on a summit this week as well, on a live summit. We talked about our stories. We talked about our backgrounds. Take it away. Welcome to the show and tell me a little bit about who is Kemir.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you and chit chat. And as you mentioned in my bio, I am the CEO and founder of a nonprofit called J Intelligence Networks. And we provide faith-based educational programs for emotional health and healing. And I love what I do. I get the opportunity to see people transform and to be able to take years and years of baggage and say, you know what, I can clean that up, dump that suitcase and be able to live more freely. And so that's what we're about, is helping people to live freely in their authentic selves.
I love your mission. I love your vision with J Intel. I'm going to ask you in a little bit how you do it, but tell me first where this journey started for you. Let's go a little bit back to, yes, your own
Right,
luggage, the suitcase, the whole thing. How did your
right.
story come about, if you want to share?
Oh, for sure. And the reason I share my story is because I know as we've gotten older, there's that hindrance of, I don't know if I want to be that transparent. That's not something I want to expose. But one of the things that I've learned is when I'm not in that place of transparency about my background, um, the enemy comes and uses it against me and will want to
Mm.
put me in a place of shame and guilt. And the reason why I say that is I did have a traumatic childhood where I just didn't have the best upbringing. The things that you want as a child to be loved and cared for, that definitely wasn't my journey. And as I matured, I had all that trauma, I had all those emotional wounds, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so the best thing I did do, or what I understood at that time, was let me just stuff it. Let me move forward. Let me live the life that I want to have and just ignore those experiences. But unfortunately, as I aged, my body was like, you're carrying a burden that it's not meant for you to carry. And so my body gave out, and it came out in the form of me just having a mental breakdown. I really just lost my mind. And it was, those things where you try to hide it, but it was obvious, like, Kemir, I just wasn't right. And people would say, Kemir, I think you need to get help. And so I started that journey of getting help, being able to expose those wounds in a safe environment with professionals who could walk me through and help change my thought process and give me a new experience versus what I endured. And that was a journey. It took time. But in the midst of that journey, as I've gotten older, God was like, hey, there's other people who've had similar experiences. And be a voice, speak up, and allow your healing journey to encourage others through their healing journeys. And that's what inspired our nonprofit, is that there's things that I've learned on the journey where I was kind of like scraping and pulling pieces together. And I was like, why not put it together easily for individuals so that they don't have to take 10 to 20 years to figure this aspect out about healing and addressing those emotional wounds?
I love it. There's so much to what you say. We are carrying that luggage from the past.
Mhm.
We all have some open wounds. Even if we think that they're not there anymore and we healed, sometimes we didn't. The triggers maybe in another way, right? It triggers
Yeah,
self-esteem, confidence, things that we have to all of a sudden do and we have no clue how or where or why to find it. I love what you used this week as well, like having, were you the one that said we have that big backpack, we carry it around, it gets
mhm,
heavier and heavier. We just need to unload and we
yeah,
just need to be able to find and then share the solution. So you said real clearly, I found the solutions for myself. I found a little bit of
mhm,
where I needed to be. It's never done, right? That's why I always like
right.
to say
Oh,
it's
for
we're
sure.
not done yet. Yeah,
Yes,
we're
yes,
not done
life.
yet. But once you start being open to that self-transformation and self-help and
Mhm,
self-mastery, then you just set the skills that come out of it, you put it all together and made for
mhm,
you, Intel, you designed the programs. You said, now I can help, but I know now, these are my lessons learned,
yeah,
hardcore, but now maybe I can set somebody forward in a faster tempo, even in a better tempo, even at a
yeah,
younger age, right? Tell me
yeah.
a little bit about how it works. Well, in the first time, congratulations, because it's a nonprofit organization. You are the CEO. Congratulations. That is a huge step always to be a businesswoman and a
Yeah,
CEO, and then definitely step into a nonprofit. There's always the need for help and support. We're going to find them for you through just being everywhere, right?
mhm,
I help you speak everywhere, where we are everywhere. We're throwing it out there. It is such a great mission. Can you tell me a little
mhm.
bit about what it entails on J Intel?
Oh, yes, and so with our educational programs, we have one in particular that we just finished our spring session, and that's called Living Free to Be Me, and that's the program that I really, really enjoy because we do walk through with you on that journey to heal and how to expose the baggage and not go crazy.
Yeah.
Because we get started and be like, oh, she told me to start talking. I'm talking. And then the individuals around us can't handle all the things that we're throwing down. But not only that, emotionally, you have years that's been backed up. And it's like, well, how do I bring that in the forefront where I'm not so bombarded by it that I can't think straight anymore? I can't
Mm,
function anymore. So,
mm.
with our Living Free program, we have a very strong structure and framework to slowly guide you to take through those wounds, but do it in the way where you're not overwhelmed and you're about to pass out.
And this is
Because,
called the Living Free framework,
yeah,
right?
living free to
Yeah.
be me. Yep.
People
And
free to
so
be. I love that. Yes.
yes, because
Yes.
at the end of it, it's like you're free to be your authentic self. You're not carrying those wounds anymore. And so in that program, we guide you through it's 7 weeks and you work through those relationships that impacted you in a very negative way, as well as allowing you to focus on positive relationships. So you're being more balanced. And that's that part about not getting so overwhelmed that you can't function.
Mm.
But in those positive relationships, being able to identify your strengths, those things that God have placed in you that perhaps you've overlooked because of your previous experiences. And throughout the course, we continue to help you learn new coping mechanisms. I
Yeah.
try not to use the words coping because coping means that you're still in pain, but we work through how to rewire those experiences so that you're living in your authentic self. So
Yes.
again, that's
Yeah.
7 weeks, and we do have a fall session coming forward where if you're interested, just come. And one of the things about the program, it's not just for those who've been traumatized from a childhood perspective. We've had participants who went through a divorce and
Mm.
needed to have that sense of closure from that relationship. So it's a matter of having freedom in whatever dimension that you're in. And even if it's like employment, sometimes we just had bosses that treated us so poorly, and it changed how we think about ourselves. And so the program provides a framework to be able to work through those experiences so that you can go back and thrive in who you were meant to be.
I love that. 7-week program, one starting in fall. It's accessible for everybody.
Yes.
Well,
And
you
the
know,
reason it's accessible is because it's virtual. We do it virtually.
yes, so it's virtual. That is great. So it's
Mhm.
accessible. National, international, right? Everybody can log on and get the information. And another thing is that you're working through the program. Yes, coping skills. Yeah, absolutely. We need them. Sometimes it just comes up. Sometimes it's still there. Sometimes we
Yeah.
recognize it. We're working on acknowledging and recognizing the fact that sometimes we are thinking back at it, or we
Mhm.
feel bad, or our negative emotions, our negative thinking starts taking over. So sometimes I call it tool set, skill set, right? All that stuff
Mhm.
that we can put in there to prevent ourselves from going back, sliding down that hill and going back
Yeah.
into that mindset of I'm not good enough, I can't be here, I can't make it, all that negative thinking. So it is for everybody. What do you get most? Do you get adults? Do you get young adults? Isn't that great for people in their 20s, 30s? And
That
how do
is
you
a
market it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Focus more on older adults in their late 30s onward. And the reason being is that sometimes that generation doesn't have the courage at times to go do these type of programs because of fear of what others may be thinking. And I know for me, I was in that cultural generation where what happened in home stays at home. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
we wanted to create an environment for those who may not have felt safe before to bring forth these situations and these idealisms and these experiences and say, hey, we have a place for you.
yeah,
And it's not superficial. It's a place where you can be your authentic self in a safe environment and you're not being judged,
yeah.
but you have the freedom to express what you went through and to work through it.
You are using two of my very favorite words, which is, be authentic and feeling safe.
Mhm.
And then secondly, just, you have the transparent situation where people can finally start talking, they're feeling
Mhm.
welcome, they feel that peer support, which is really important. Everybody's got some of the same but
Yeah,
different story, right? All
yeah.
of a sudden, we and our generation, you and me, I'm sorry, I'm going even a little bit
You
further back.
No, you're fine.
If I scroll down that form on the internet, right?
Yeah,
Below 2000, right? But we
yeah.
know also that we come, yes, from the generation that what happens stays at home, don't talk about
Yes,
it. You're not going to hang your dirty laundry anywhere else. And on top
exactly.
of that, if we would seek help or talk to others, or even in my generation, in the early days, it was like if you find some form of help and support, you
Mhm,
said that you didn't have the courage to do so because there was
mhm.
a stigma,
Right.
that you were kind of either crazy or you needed to see a therapist, or
Exactly.
you were just maybe
Exactly.
like, why are you talking?
Yeah.
Why you even need help? Just move on and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that nonsense. Nowadays, that would be nice if we had nothing to worry about, but the world has times
Yes.
100, times 100 itself. Does that even sound like, yes, the input that
Mhm,
we get?
mhm,
The input, the energy the whole day around us, the
mhm,
information input, the stuff that we have to deal with, it's just different.
mhm.
It's
It
just
is.
different. So I'm so glad that
Yeah.
we can recognize that right now. What is the other program that you're providing? Because there is another
Yes.
program,
Well, that
right?
is true. That is true. And our other program is with seniors. And that's definitely was an inspiration for my mom and just seeing the things that she's gone through as a senior and just seeing a demographic that's overlooked in terms of being supported and encouraged. And our senior program, what we do is we go into assisted living places here locally in Texas, the Irving Grapevine area. And we go in and we hijack their Bible study. And we go
Ah,
in there and we incorporate emotional health tools with their Bible study. And it's so fun because the way that we do it, so many times they forget that we're doing emotional health because we have such a great time incorporating how God loves us and sees us and has this holistic perspective of our well-being. And so many times from a spiritual perspective, we might overlook those other dimensions about the body and the mind. It's in there in the Bible, but we focus more on, am I being the right person?
Mm,
And not looking at that God cares about the whole person.
yes. Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
so in that program, we have a great time with seniors and just allowing them to see who they are through God's eyes in that holistic perspective.
I love that. The whole holistic, because we forget, and
Hmm.
generations again going back, we didn't have that physical aspect in there, right?
Hmm.
I worked a lot in recovery, so that was not really addressing the body and the
Yeah.
need for health there.
Yeah.
We are also going into a generation of 75 million baby boomers. So
Mm,
yay, we're going to take over. So we
yeah.
have more information. We have more, we have more means to take care of
Yes.
ourselves, get informed, get information, get insight. We're more interested. We have more time to do so. And so it's so awesome that you bring that. And I love the fact, of course, you bring faith in there. Of course, I'm with you when it comes
Hmm.
to that, because everybody has that purpose, for God-given purpose, for joy, for getting to
Hmm.
know themselves, for healing through pain, for moving forwards, right? That is so important. And if we incorporate that, I love that. With our Bible study, I want you to come into my Bible study and disrupt it. Be
Yeah.
disruptive and come on in and do it. I
Yeah.
love that. Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes, in our Living Free program, we also incorporate God in that program as well.
Mhm.
And as you already talked about, being able to identify with Him as we're healing, that He wants us to heal. And there's so many scriptures in the Bible where He talks about healing. And again, one of those areas that we tend to overlook because we're more concerned about our behavior. But get into a place, because I know in my journey, one of the things that I had wrestled with was God was way over here and my mental health was way on this other side. And then being embarrassed of putting it together, like, God, do you really want to see me like this?
Mm,
Do you really want to see me in this broken state? And how do I get through this broken state with knowing that you love me? And so that's one of the things what we do with our programs is saying God loves you in all of your states. And of course, there are states that He prefers that you're not in, but it doesn't mean that He's not with you. And so as we go through this journey, what does it look like to hold His hand and to say, you have all of me? And as you have all of me, I'm also learning how to be the person that you're calling me to be.
I love that so much. There is so much truth, because I remember when I was not at my best,
Mm.
um, I I really prayed, but really got more into this fight with God,
Mhm.
thinking, why me? Why is this
Mhm.
happening? And you're not looking at me. I'm not worthy.
Right.
I'm not good enough. And that takes us down a whole different road. So we want to prevent that by definitely inserting right there. I wish somebody honestly had done that for me at that time.
Mm.
You are unique. You have a
Mhm.
purpose, right?
Mhm.
It just takes a little bit of time. And
Yeah.
then once, a nice thing is, once I got to that state of faith and knowing that there's hope, I wouldn't know what to
Mhm.
do now without it, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
once I got to that state, I started seeing, okay, I need to do the work. That was one part. I needed to do the
Yes.
work, and the outcome is there. Now I start believing that it's all there for me to find success
Mhm.
and happiness and joy. But I just have to be patient. I cannot just,
Yeah.
it's not, but God has a
Yeah.
cell phone and answers his text. So I started texting, right? Then it
Yeah.
actually started responding, because I was not sitting down waiting anymore with that door closed while the boat come
Mhm.
by,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I started working, and then a couple of more curveballs, which I
Of
now
course.
started to recognize as a learning,
Mhm.
from a learning perspective, instead of, oh my gosh, another obstacle
Yeah.
in my way,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. The world is coming to an end, so to speak.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and that's something that we do in our Living Free to Be Me program. Towards the end of the program, we spend time delving into those obstacles, but what can we learn from those obstacles, and who can we remain being in those obstacles?
Yeah.
and being able to distinguish the lies in the obstacles versus the growth in them.
Nice. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Because we do want to know and become aware, right? That's always one of
Hmm.
the first things that I try in my programs as well. Once we're getting aware of it, we can do something with it. Once
Exactly.
we know how we are reacting, or actually, I would like to say it's better to respond instead of react, right? I used to
Yeah.
react, now I respond. I take a step back, think about it. I might not like it, it might not
Hmm.
be all what I want, yada yada. But just
Hmm.
kind of think about what is the outcome, and I always know it's for the better. So once you start trusting that, you step into that faith, it is huge. It is
Hmm.
huge. This
Yeah.
is so much work for you, and you're coming from a corporate environment, right? When you said you had that
Yes.
breakdown,
Yes.
I know it. Yay, corporate error. Yes.
Yes.
Tell me,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about you just left and packed up and said, okay, bye.
Well, there's still things that's still my innate nature, which is by nature I'm an engineer. So it
Hmm.
has been a benefit because in our programs, definitely being able to put the pieces together and seeing how they work together. I do take homage to that's my engineering mind. But yes, when in my youth, I started out in the IT world. I still dabble in IT as well. And when I first came out of the gate, one of my coping mechanisms was being a worker, was hiding behind work and pursuing
Hmm.
work in terms of fulfillment and hoping to get the lifestyle that I wanted because of course I didn't want to reintroduce or re-endure what I did as a child. So my mindset was I'm just going to be the best career person there is out there. But as I was doing that, because again, stuffing all those emotions and stuffing all that pain,
Yeah,
even though I was hiding behind it, I wasn't successful long term.
yeah,
And so I had to take a step back to say, let me address who I am as Kemir. Let me not live that double life because even though I looked great outwardly and was doing well successfully from a career standpoint, when I went home, my hidden behavior was very destructive, wrestling through depression and things of that nature as well.
yeah,
And again, it stands from just not dealing with that baggage.
yeah.
And I know that over time, as I've done this work, I've been exposed to a lot of individuals who their mindset is, well, let me just deal with the present. And I wish that our bodies will just allow us to deal with the present. But at some particular point, because of those experiences and the impact that it's made on our brain health and how our brain has dealt with those experiences, at a particular point, it comes to a standpoint where it's like you need to reintroduce something new to your brain.
Yeah,
You need to reintroduce new experiences to your brain
yeah,
such that when you're in your present state, you're not being triggered from past experiences, not realizing that it's from your past.
yeah,
In one area is anxiety.
yeah,
Like we may associate anxiety with, oh, I'm just dealing with the stress of the world. But sometimes if you dig a little bit deeper, a lot of the anxiety stems from trauma that we've endured or those emotional wounds that we've experienced and we never actually dealt with. And so our body holds on to it and it manifests itself through anxiety.
yeah. Absolutely. And I call it sometimes, or I recall exactly what you're saying. Sometimes I explain a lot about stress and anxiety in a sense of daily stressors, just the news, right? Somebody being late, not the kid's not on time. Yeah, yeah. This is stuff that
Right.
it just builds up and builds up, as where anxiety is that build up and it takes it too far. And now we're just so worried all the time that I'm just, all right, folks, we're in Texas. It's hot. It's not gonna rain for 3 months. At that point, I will tell my client, go stand outside and wait for the rain. Right. Well, they already
Yeah.
know it's not coming. That's what you're doing with that
Yeah.
anxiety. Like, oh my, oh my,
Yeah.
oh my, oh my, oh my. So what if, what if, what if, what if? And it just
Hmm.
builds up and builds up.
Hmm.
You said another really special thing. We just have that fear of working on it. We kind of stay in the same circle, and that's in that
Hmm.
it's kind of a comfort zone. It's
Hmm.
very known that people like to stay in that negative thinking or drama
Hmm.
comfort zone. And that's when I say, thank you, Dr. Phil. How's that working for you? Right?
Hmm.
Because it's
Hmm.
not, otherwise you wouldn't come to me. But
Right.
that is where we have to recognize that we're doing and we're turning in the same patterns all the time. We're drawing from the same file cabinet. It's still up here.
Yeah.
And we don't know.
Mhm,
It's still just like we
mhm,
can pull that drawer open anytime by just getting
mhm.
triggered a little bit, and there it comes again.
Oh,
So
for sure.
how do we stimulate ourselves, or how do we find things that we can add on that give us a new vibration, new energy, new excitement, new enthusiasm? Where do you draw that from?
Sure. For me, there's a couple of things. First, because of my faith, I have that tendency to learn how to go to Him for that strengthening. But there's a couple of things that people have talked about for years, and most coaches talk about it, and there is value and truth in that, and that is. Being in a place of gratitude, seeking out elements of gratitude to get you through the day, pausing and looking for those positive things instead of being bombarded by your experiences. And the power of gratitude is immense, but we don't do it because it takes time. But if you allow yourself to take that discipline to keep a little journal, and that was something that I had to do, was I kept a little journal and I will take notice of things that was really an encouragement for my spirit, and I refer to it as God's little kisses for that day.
Oh,
Another yeah, he
I
did.
love
He was
that. I
yeah,
love
he'll
that.
yeah, and just seeing because when he does it, it's like no one can take credit for it because it is
Mm,
so out of the blue. And so I would do that just to keep my spirit refreshed and in tune with I'm being seen. Like when I'm able to stay in that gratitude place, I'm recognizing I'm being seen because my needs are being met.
yes.
The other area is meditation. Meditation, oh, it does wonders to be able to recenter your mindset, to be able to slow down, because when you're meditating, you have to be at a rest place, a still place, and just even learning how to empty your mind. And I know when I meditate, I do waste 30 minutes just trying to calm down because my
Mhm,
mind is racing. And so
mhm.
that first 30 minutes is just me talking to myself, relax, relax. And then the next 30 minutes is when I finally get to that place where I'm being covered in positive words, positive affirmations, and allowing my being to be centered in those environments or that truths versus what my experiences are telling me. And
And
so the
so true.
yeah,
Yeah. No, keep
yeah.
going. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. So I was just gonna say those are 2 that has been very instrumental for me, and I always encourage others to work through and use. And as I said before, it's spoken about all the time. What I just shared is nothing new. I'm quite
It's
certain of
nothing
that.
new, but we need to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat it because there's still a large part of the folks around us
Mhm.
that are, I don't have the time. I can't do it
Yeah,
now. I'm not
mhm,
today, maybe tomorrow, next Monday,
yeah,
right? So we just need to be there to repeat it. I agree with you. I teach on the same thing. I lecture on the same
mhm,
thing. Just gratitude journal is amazing. The
mm,
10 extra minutes in the morning before the family comes up and the dog and the cat and the whole bed, it is golden if you can
it is.
start putting those very tiny little habits in there, right? It's all about
Mhm,
creating habits and just enjoying that little gratitude and
mhm,
meditation time. I love that you said that's one of my favorites from Buddha. I think, yeah, if you
mhm.
can't do it for 5 minutes, you need an hour.
Yeah,
Right? So meditation, so yeah, nah, I don't have time. Well, hey, start with 5 or 10 minutes to,
mhm,
use that pre-recorded, use the guided
mhm,
meditation, get the app, and and
mhm.
and push yourself a little harder and a little further into the after the first 10 minutes. And I love that you
Yeah,
said that because I'm too like, am I sitting right? Do I need to lay
yeah,
down?
yeah,
All that stuff. And I don't like her voice. Is there music in the background? That kind of stuff till I
yeah,
found it. And then I finally, okay. And then when I start actually listening and breathing, it's one of the
mhm,
skills that finally start settling in and I become better at it. And it's
yeah,
just wonderful to acknowledge that and take that me time that
mhm,
and this channel is for women by women, that
yeah,
we women don't do.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
always got those 10 people that we need to take care of. And we have that sense of fear. How are we going to be perceived? What is somebody going to say about that? Is it
Mhm.
enough? Is it going to be too difficult for me? Can I put it in
Mhm.
there? So there's just a lot of questions that we should wave away that are just not necessary. Take care of ourselves first so we can take better care of others.
For sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
and one thing that you talked about is breathing, and that's something that I talk about as well, is being able to take that moment to breathe and slow down in that breathing process. Because one of the things, because I used to struggle a lot with anxiety. I have my moments, but never to the point that I was before. But one of the things that I learned in those anxiety moments is that I stopped breathing. I had no idea
Yeah.
that I was holding my breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's very powerful when you're able to just take that time and breathe through. And even one of the things that I added and I've learned is an added bonus is while I'm taking that breathing moment, recentering myself on those positive experiences that I've had and focusing on those positive experiences and reliving those positive experiences while I'm doing that breathing exercise, and it does reset me and it does empower me to get through the next part of my day because I'm focusing on what is good versus the obstacles that are in front of me.
Yes, absolutely. And agree with you again. Just pausing, breathing, start
Mhm,
seeing the things that we're grateful for, and look for
mhm,
smaller stuff. Look for the miracles around us. You mentioned that
mhm,
before. And I
mhm.
do a lot of anxiety training with clients that is just going back to the things that you do know and enjoy.
Right.
Right? Go do
Mhm.
the dishes, go do something. And don't
Yeah.
taste anything, right?
Yeah.
Because I've worked with a lot of these people as well, and I love them.
Yeah.
But we do not want to drink that bottle of beer in
Yeah.
5 seconds. We just want to go do something and
Mhm.
kind of be busy and gather our thoughts away from what we were so crazy, crazy, crazy about. What is your 5-year plan? What is your dream? What is your bucket list? What is your vision? How are we going to go bigger, Kemir? I love it.
Oh, that's a wonderful question. And it's funny because earlier I think we were talking about moving forward and what does that look like for our nonprofit. But for us as a nonprofit, one of the things that we want to see for sure is that our programs are utilized more throughout the United States and
Yeah.
prayerfully one day globally. But in our programs, being able to go to your own local community and be able to have someone facilitating your Living Free to Be Me curriculum. We're also in the process of working through putting online courses onto our website so you can come and have these little principles that you can do that self-pays and guide you through so that you're at a place where you're like, oh, I'm making progression in life. I'm
Yeah.
thriving.
Yeah.
And so again, from a perspective of what we do, we just want more people to get hold of this wonderful information, this framework, so that you guys can live the life that you want to live.
I love that. I love that so much. Yes, and we would just want to draw people to the site, draw people to your courses, start interacting with more people. You have that right now, right? We can do that virtually with a lot more people. But I can also see your courses being great for 7 weeks in the school. It just takes a little bit of time. They
Mhm,
don't have to do it the whole day. They can
mhm,
make an hour available, maybe for the
mhm.
teenagers, younger people, young adults, maybe universities, just kind of adding on or even getting it out there marketing wise so that people can
Yeah,
choose to do some
yeah,
self-study there or do some guided studies, right, in the program
yes.
itself. Yeah.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and even one of the things that we are working towards is having a support environment. So after you complete these courses, you know that there's people around you who've had the similar experiences and you can continue to grow together and learn together. And so that is definitely something in the forefront as well, and as well as collaborating with other nonprofits because now you're like, I'm excited. I've encountered these things. I have things to give back to, and being able to participate in programs where you're actually able to put a little bit of yourself by your volunteerism. So that too is part of our long-term goal as well.
Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And I can see it. We did a lot of networking this week, so I can see already some people coming together here with you. It's like, whoa, exploding. And even if we have similar ideas, or if we have similar entities or organizations or missions, right?
Mhm,
Then the best thing is to collaborate with others, to
mhm.
learn from others, to find others in similar situations, to get that support system. So I love that so much. What is a great way to find you, Kemir? Where can we look for you?
Sure. Our best and fastest way is our website, which is jintel.org. That's JINTEL.org. And you'll learn about our programs and what we do. And of course, we have our Facebook profiles, and we are on LinkedIn as well as JINTEL.
Yeah.
So you can definitely check us out from a social media standpoint. We podcast, so you have the opportunity to gain a little bit more insight about who I am, and we have people that come on the show that shares more things about what you're doing, mind, body, and spirit. And so we have a lot of things there. So just come find us and get involved and take our programs.
jintel.org,
Yes.
jintel.org, and just find out, go to the website, find more links there, go to the Facebook site, support Kemir. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I
Yes.
loved having you stay a little bit after when we go off the big thing. I love to chat a little bit more. I'm going to put all your links on all the sites, and we're going to promote the replay and be out there. Use it yourself, and let's get everybody going on and in this great conversation. So I'd love to hear feedback from people, listeners, people that find us on our podcast. We're
Mhm.
all our podcast platforms. So please send feedback, questions, anything to Kemir or to myself. So come find us. Thank you so much for being my amazing guest today with
Thank
a more amazing God-given purpose and mission and vision. Thank you so
you.
much. I believe it. I love you. And for all my listeners and audience, I will see you next week on another episode of Alion's Joy. Thank you so much for being here today.